I've I've made so many videos lately that I haven't published because I have no idea if they make sense. I'm just trying to document my journey, the whole 100-day challenge, all those things. I'm trying to document to make sense of myself, to see, is there any sense to this? You see, okay, let's talk about manifestation. Let's talk about law of attraction. Let's talk about spirituality. Let's talk about all the things that you can create with your mind when your thoughts becomes things, when you attract the things that you need in life, and all those things, right? And I'm going to give you some very specific examples that I'm trying to wrap my head around, but I'm struggling. Right now, I have the most intense toothache that I've had in a long time. And I'm going to come back to that. It will bring context, all right? Over the course of a few months, or I would say almost maybe 2 years, things have happened that I can't really explain. I've had a thought, and then all of a sudden, something happened in my life that is very relevant to the thought that I had. And it was not because I did some specific action that led to that outcome. It was because it just happened. And in the law of attraction and manifestation and the universe and quantum physics and frequencies and the law of vibration and all those things, the theory is, and I'm not sure if this is a theory for me anymore, I think it's a freaking spiritual path, but when you have a thought and you have an emotional outcome, an emotional attachment, some emotional anchor to a visualization, you're seeing something in your mind and it's clear and you want something or whatever it is, right? There is a clear desire to reach that visualization. That carries with it a frequency or a like information. Frequencies and vibrations are information, right? A frequency is nothing but a sequence of letters and numbers, 440 hertz and all these things. It is very specific. And I believe that emotions carry those same frequencies. So a low frequencies, as I've been saying before, a low frequency is that of hate, of anger, of jealousy, of, bad, negative emotions. And then a high one is a positive one. It's pretty simple. But living that way tend to not be that simple. So when you are on such a frequency in the beginning, it might go back to status quo if you're normally in a place where you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, and you're thinking in ways of this is happening to me, uh, fuck you because you are not supposed to do that to me. You're blaming your circumstances instead of taking action and accountability yourself, more or less, just simplified, right? But you're not really in control over the situation because you're trying to put blame on everything else that is happening outside of your control. Then I think that is kind of messing with the frequencies. There are too many things happening and you're not kind of on that high frequency. But if you consciously stay on a higher frequency, then it's after a while it's going to become a habit. Your way of thinking and everything is just going to become a habit because you're creating new neural pathways in your head. In your brain, you have, as I also said so many times because it changed my life, you have two things: neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. Neurogenesis is the act of creating new neurons. Neuroplasticity is the whole process of changing old ones or rearranging, if you will. And if you continuously stay on a high frequency, you're going to get into the habit of staying in that frequency. And the more you do that, I guess the less bad frequencies are interfering with that vibe, with that harmony, with that flow, right? So it's easier for you to basically see things in a very light way, in a very positive light. You have a new perspective of the world and you see things in a way that is beneficial for not just you, but for people around you in general. And the more you do that, the best way I can explain this is that the flow of energy and the information becomes more pure. It's easier to see which frequency you're on because there's not much fucking up with that whole harmony, right? So if you have a very clear flow of energy and frequency, and you have a very clear image of where you want to go, and you have very clear thoughts and intentions as to what you're doing, then I believe that you're sending out a universal ping, basically. And the universe, because you are the universe, subatomic quantum fluctuations in a vacuum on a Planck scale, you're basically nothing but stardust and tiny particles that is everything else around you. But you're vibrating on your frequency. And when you are communicating into the universe like this, as the universe, you're basically making the universe do things regardless of placement or time to meet that visualization you have in your head. Does it make sense? You're literally seeing something, and because you're seeing it, you are therefore creating it. And however it will come to you, who knows? When? Who knows? But I think that the more flow and the more harmony you have in that frequency, the easier and faster it will come. Because the more power there is behind it. There's not all these negative things that is going to pull it down, right? It's like the high pressure in your water hose. So, with that, I think that the things that you seek can come in many, many different ways. And sometimes it might be in a bad way. Which brings me almost to my toothache. But there have been so many things, and the last thing that I really vividly remember is I was borrowing a car. Because I had just said yes to an adventure. And the day before, I was sitting here in this chair thinking, I want an adventure. I want some variety in my day. I want to do something that is not exactly like I did yesterday or the week before. I just need to get out of the office a little bit. Yeah, I had to take a breather. And the day after I had the thought, I had a phone call. And he asked, can you drive to Denmark for me? Because I've called everyone and nobody can do this. They have families, they have work. There's no possible way that they can do this. And I've called a lot of people. And I have my kids 50%. Every other week, I have basically what I call my work week, where I'm free to work and divide my time however I please. And this was on a Monday. So I said, yeah, sure. Lo and behold, 30 minutes afterwards, I was in the next town over getting the rental car that I was going to use to drive down to Denmark. When I got home, though, because I had a tribe talk with the community, and those are held bi-weekly at 7 p.m. sharp. So I had to get back home. I came back, I parked, had the meeting, and then I was going to drive back down. It turns out that the freaking rental place had rented me a car that had no studs. There was no studs in the tires during winter in Norway, which is a stupid thing, but it happened. Coincidentally, unbeknownst to me, the person who had requested me to go to Denmark had not signed any insurance on this car as well, or either. So that was a little stressful in the moment that I was made aware. But as I was driving back down, the roads were so icy that there was no friction whatsoever. I was slipping, and I stood on the brakes, and when I don't know if you have had this sensation where you are literally standing on the brakes. You're supposed to be standing still, but the car is gaining speed. And then it's starting to move out of, like, it's starting to turn and twist, and then all of a sudden you're going sideways down a fucking hill. It's a very interesting feeling. So when I saw that this was not going to end in a way that I wanted to, I had two choices. I could focus on the problem, which was the rock in the mountain and the eventual place I was going to crash. Or I could focus on where I wanted it to go. Because if there's one thing that I've learned from personal development, it is don't focus on the problems, because you're literally just creating more of them. Like, you're thinking and you're just creating more bad thoughts going into a negative spiral. So I thought, I'm not going to focus on this problem. I'm going to focus on where I want to go. And there is this lesson in race car drivers where when they are about to crash, they don't look at the wall where they're going to hit. they look at where they want to go down the road, and then they turn the wheel that way, and then just speed. Turn the pedal to the metal. And I did that. And slowly but surely, I see that I'm starting to correct the car. I'm getting in line with the road again. And I see that I have a choice, but then it dawns on me that I have too much speed, and this is gonna go into the ditch no matter what the fuck I do. But I wasn't freaking out as I thought I would be. I had a little, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. You know, I think we all have those repeating moments of shit before we hit the ditch, but I managed to land between a sign and a rock in the snow, and I was able to back out almost immediately, but I couldn't get over the last curb, so I was kind of stuck on the hump before I got into the back road. And when I turned back towards the front of the car, there was a guy there, and he's pushing the car. And all of a sudden, he managed to push me off. And then I get on the road and I start sliding down again. Like, it was intensely slippery and no studs. So, of course, I shouted at him, like, thank you so much. If I was to ever have more kids, I would name them after you, unnamed person. And I just drove, right? And he's, no problem. It's slippery down there. So I continue to drive and I call my partner and I say that, okay, listen, I just crashed and I'm just having you on the phone so that in case I die, you know what to do. I could have delivered that message better, but I was slightly panicking at this time because I still had the worst hill to go. But I went into the ditch and I basically followed the ditch, and when I got back down, I had 2 straws of grass in the grill and some snow. There was not a scratch on the car. So what happened? I have no idea. It was not my skills. That's for sure. Because honestly, I had no control whatsoever. I think I could have crashed worse, but I was lucky. I go down to Denmark. I was driving fast on the freeway, and it was dark, and it was raining very hard. And honestly, I think I almost died twice down there as well. And there's something about living in that survival mode because you're always on the edge, you're always focused, kind of. I think that is relevant to my entrepreneurship as well. I'm choosing not to go to a handout. Like if I'm scratched for cash, I will not go to the system, to the government and ask for money. I will not ask for social aid because that will put me out of that situation where I have to fight. I have to create something in order to survive. And I like being in that mode for some fucked up sadistic reason. But it's freedom for me, right? So, things continue to happen, and I didn't realize or understand why I was so lucky. And then I come back home, and my tooth starts to ache a lot. Like a lot. And I try to fight the pain because I'm stubborn and I'm Norwegian, and I guess that's just something that we do. We don't ask for help easily, it seems. But there came a time, like a week afterwards, where I had to go to the dentist because I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. I went down and he said, "Whoa, bro," you know, it was bad. He didn't call it a cavity; he called it a crater because the former dentist had hollowed it out, forgot to remove one of the nerves, so that nerve was just dangling in that crater, and it was producing all sorts of problems, but he fixed it. And I was happy. I had some icing and like when I drank things, but it was okay because he said that was gonna go away after a while. But after 1 week, basically to the minute, almost, I have some turkey, and it's not really hard. It's not durable. It's not chewy, really. And I don't think I ate it any different, but all of a sudden, on one of these bites, I feel like I'm struck by a semi truck in my face. And it turns out that it's the other side, on the bottom side. So diagonally opposite to the tooth I just fixed. And I just received the bill. And I just, dried off the cold sweat that I got from looking at the bill. And I was like, okay, shit, I need to do something this week. I need to make some money. So I started to implement like crazy. I did some stuff. I created some NFTs. I created some landing pages. I reached out to some clients. I had some coaching calls. I did a lot. I was effective. And I made money. But then, this happens and I was like, fuck. Well, then I have to do it all again. I need more money. It's weird. Instead of freaking out that I had received this bill, I was now in so much pain that I had to do something to get away from this bill. And I guess the point of this story is I tried to be in the pain for as long as I could. Endure the frickin' pain and see if I could learn something from it. Like, could I find a way to breathe my way through the pain? Could I make it go away from focusing on something else? What could I do in order to function with this pain? After 24 hours, I got hungry, so I couldn't really keep on doing that, and I had to call the dentist today. Who's coincidentally, is it a coincidence? I will be back with you just in a minute. All right, 11 a.m. I have a dentist appointment again. My point is that with these solutions to my problems, I'm calling them solutions, which is weird. I like traumatic frickin' dental injury became my solution because it forced me to do things that I was uncomfortable doing. I hate asking for money. I don't know any. Did I just freeze? I probably just froze. I don't know anyone who really likes asking for money unless they've done it so long that it's second nature. It's like we talked about in the beginning, it's just a habit. But I also knew that I had to do something. I had to really go out there and make the actions, the needle movers. I had to go out there and reach out to people directly and do the things that is going to provide a result quick. But I was procrastinating. I was like fearing shit. I was thinking, I don't really like doing that, so I shouldn't do that. I'm probably going to figure out a solution to not do that. Yeah, I'm just not going to do that. And that escalated. That happens all the time as an entrepreneur, I think, because you're always second guessing yourself for some fucked up reason. But, point, my dental issues made me do that, regardless. And then we can come back to the whole, is it really a coincidence when things happen when they happen? Like when I'm talking about the appointment I booked today and I get the confirmation as I'm talking about it? On my YouTube video, on my YouTube channel right now, there's an entrepreneurial journey of a cosmocentric Viking. Horrible title, but in that video, I'm talking 5 years or 4 years into the journey. I'm talking for the first time about the story of how my daughter was deported and the time afterwards, like the integration when they got back to the country, and how the State Department was a fucking nightmare, and how the system. I'm not going to go out in that rant. The thing is, the State Department that was actually responsible for tossing them out of the country in the first place landed on my fucking property while I was sitting there talking about the story at that point of the story, interrupting the video where I was talking about them for the first time ever. Like that was just a so freakishly weird coincidence that I couldn't help but think, is this a coincidence? Because I learned a lot from that little experience. A lot. Like, do I have PTSD? Because I broke down like a little chick. And I'm talking about like the chickens, the tiny chickens. When I saw these people, I bawled. I started crying moments after I saw them. And I didn't know why. My body just went into that shock mode. And I learned a lot from that. Now, here I am. After 2 weeks of intense pain, I've done more than I've ever done in this office in that short of a time span. I've created new relations, new collaborations. I've had so many conversations. God damn, the revelations. I should have been that sounded like a rap. It's insane. When you are so pure in the energy and everything that you like, I think that is because I think I'm pretty close to my authentic truth. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% there because I think there's always room for potential and I think there's always room for growth. And perfection is just it's not there. It's never going to be there in a human. So, but I think that my current flow, my current lack of, or is that the right word? Lack of barriers, my current positivity vibe is so strong that it doesn't allow for any negativity, which means that all negative situations will also be interpreted as positive ones or as something that has a lesson to be learned from it. If something bad happens, I'm not saying, oh, that's just so typical. No, I don't think at all. I know that there's something that happens afterwards because there always is something after a situation, good or bad, who knows. But there's always the moment right now, presently. I can do what I want with the moment right now. I can choose how I react to the situation right now. But to start worrying about what would happen afterwards, after something that potentially happens in the future, doesn't make sense. So if I have this whole mindset right now and have a goal for where I want to go in the future and deal with every situation accordingly to where I want to go, using SLS and all those fancy words that we invented, I feel like I'm onto something. Something weird that has been talked about for eons. Since humanity was not even a thing, I think that there's been a power, the universe, has been here forever. Who knows how that story goes? Nobody knows. Don't pretend to know. You know? And because of that, I think there is like individual interpretations of that same thing. It's like, I think that's why there's so many religions. Nobody can make up their goddamn mind. But today, I discovered human design. Holy shit! Holy shit! What was the most intense thing that I've ever seen in my life? It's like, it's not predicting where you're going to go in life. It's not telling you how to be. It's literally just saying, so this is what you've been up to. And I'm just, what? I can remember this. This is not possible. Well, this is possible, clearly, because I'm currently experiencing it. But it just gave me so much clarity. In our brains, in our pineal glands, we have these calcites. Is it calcite? Crystals. Small crystals, right? The radio and the TV and all those things started with the use of crystals, where we magnified a current, made it into a frequency that was kind of on that frequency. Crystals. Now, what else has crystals? Well, everything in the fucking universe, that's one. So there's all of these small amplifiers just taking this energy all over the universe, right? And we are saying, many are saying, I used to say, that astrology and all these ancient practices that is talking about things that you cannot deny because it's like it's talking to your inner truth. That's why I think religions have some of that. You will feel some of that, and that's why you will start to, follow that because some of it rings with you. But if you start to combine shit, there is truth in everything. And I have no idea where the end of that line lies. I don't think anyone has ever found it, unless you go to the end of the line, like death. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to die. But the death is like the final key. It's like the final thing. It's the step into the next thing. We got born, and this came from the magical conversation today with Jason. We get born. Back in the day, the elite went into these temples at night to die before they died so they can live forever. To be reborn. Now, what if death is just another version of rebirth? Like we came from nothing, more or less. Let's say that before we were sperm, we were just energy. Then we became something. And then we got born. And then we get through this journey of life and we learn a whole bunch of things. And depending on what we do with those teachings and lessons, do we go into the fear? Do we succumb to the pressure? Do we go into doing things differently? Do we create the best life that we can, or do we just figure out, nah, that's just how it is? I think that if you view life as a game, there is no level to where you can stop evolving. And whenever you come to the door of death, I like to picture that there's a scoreboard there. And on that scoreboard, or actually, let's just pretend that there's a wizard and he's holding a book of records. And he's saying, yes, I see that you did this and this and that and that and this and that and this. But you didn't do the 863 pages following that. What happened? You learned how to walk, but after that, you kind of stopped. And then you got passed back to square one. Maybe, in this case. And then the other case, the other scenario, is where you actually went all in life. So he goes over the scoreboard, or the book of records in this case, and he's going through and he's just silent. All of a sudden, he's just looking at you weirdly. Just for fun of it, because you've done everything possibly imaginable, can you do a backflip? And then you do a backflip. And then all of a sudden, you're passed into the next stage of whatever we are. Because I think we are infinite beings. We are something. We're not even beings. Entities. Did you know that human design came from entities? From a psychedelic experience? You know, that makes a lot of sense to me. Because I've seen these things. But getting that? That's insane. If that's possible, what else is possible? No idea. But I'm going to figure out. See, that's when life gets interesting. When you have a quest. An adventure. And that's why we have tribe. Tribe is literally the start of that quest. And you come in and you have all of these game masters sitting there just talking about the weird things that's happening in their life and answering questions. That's it. That's literally it. But it's amazing, right? We're having this, we've created a game out of life. And I guess that might be the point of all this. Is there such a thing as bad things happening? Or can we learn something from everything that has happened, will happen, and is happening at this moment? And what can we do when we have conquered basically all that we can conquer? Because we get pretty freaking invincible when we keep doing that for a long time, because that too becomes a habit. You become a freaking warrior, a survivor that will not stop at anything because everything is there. Makes me all giddy about life. I hope this video did something for you, and I hope it made sense, because I have no idea what the point was of what I was trying to explain. But I think it was just to get some clarity for myself. That's it! I was documenting this for myself, so no wonder. If you didn't get into this, I'm sorry, but I appreciate you if you've seen this, because that means that you've stuck around for quite some time. If you did get any value of this, comment below if that is possible wherever you're seeing this video. And if you have questions, ask the questions. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all those fancy things. And if you are curious as to what we're doing, join Tribe. There is all these different kinds of versions of that. So I look forward to seeing you, because connecting with like-minded people, I guess that's my drug. I love that. But until then, have a fantastic day, take care of frickin' family, and I'll see you in the next one.